If you have been watching the property market lately, you may be wondering whether prices are finally starting to come down in your specific area. Now, we're certainly seeing a change in buyer behaviour, but when we look at what's actually happening across the northern Gold Coast, the numbers tell us an interesting story as to what's happening now compared to what happened 12 months ago. So let's look at what was happening with sales throughout the month of July in 4 of our key suburbs, being Upper Coomera, Pimpama, Coomera and Oxenford. In Upper Coomera, we saw 32 properties sell in July compared with 50 properties selling in July last year. The median house price is now 1.125 million, up from 967,000 12 months ago. That's around a 16% growth. And the median time on market is currently 22 days. There were 136 active listings compared with 110 12 months ago. Now in Pimpama, we saw 28 properties sell in July compared with 60 in July last year. The median house price is now $1 million, up from 860,000, which is around another 16% increase. Median days on market are 26 days, and there were 169 active listings compared with 133 this time last year. Coomera is an interesting one. 28 properties sold in July compared with 25 properties in July last year. The median house price has increased from 915,000 to around 1,089,000. That's around a 19% growth over the past 12 months. Median time on market is currently 32 days, and active listings increased from 121 in July 2025 to 180 this year. And in Oxenford, 13 properties sold in July compared with 20 sold in July last year. The median house price has increased from 1,076,000 to 1.2 million, which is around a 12% growth. Median days on market is 25 days with 68 active listings, up from 47 this time last year. So what does all of that actually tell us? Well, firstly, we're not seeing a broad collapse in property values across the northern Gold Coast. What has changed is the pace of the market. We are continuing to see a similar flow of homes coming to market each month, but because properties are taking a little longer to sell, buyers now have more choice. And when you combine that with the higher interest rates, the cost of living pressures, and the uncertainty that we've seen around recent government changes, buyers are understandably becoming a little more cautious. They're taking longer to make decisions, comparing properties more carefully, and they're placing greater emphasis on value. But there's another really important factor here: supply and demand. The northern Gold Coast continues to benefit from Queensland's population growth. We still have people migrating here from interstate and overseas as well. And our local corridor remains attractive because of its relative affordability, our lifestyle, employment opportunities, and we have significant infrastructure investments happening all around the area as well. So while buyers have more choice than they did 12 months ago, we haven't suddenly got an oversupply of property and no one wanting to buy it. The market is changing, but the fundamentals of supply and demand are still very much at play. And I think there's another really important conversation that we need to have about what we now consider to be a long time on market. Now, let's be brutally honest, we've been really spoiled in the property market over the last 6 years. We've become quite accustomed to properties selling before they even hit the market or within a few days or a week of being listed. So now when a property has been on the market for 4 weeks without an offer, sellers can understandably start to panic. But 4 weeks isn't necessarily a sign that something is wrong. It could simply be that as the market shifts, we're seeing a little more normality return to the sales process, where buyers take their time, properties are inspected by multiple people or by the same people multiple times, and negotiations can take a couple of weeks rather than a few days. Of course, if a property has been sitting on the market for an extended period without genuine buyer interest, that's when we need to look closely at the strategy. Is the property priced correctly? Is the property being presented in its best possible way? Are we reaching the right buyers? Is the marketing actually doing its job? And are we negotiating effectively? Because the current market and ultimately the buyers in it determine your sale price, not what your neighbour achieved 6 months ago and not what your property may have been worth in your last appraisal, and not an inflated price expectation that simply sits outside where the market is today. That's why an up-to-date appraisal and a realistic understanding of today's market is so important. So yes, the market has changed, but change doesn't necessarily mean bad. It just means that buyers have more choice, sellers need to be more strategic, and we're moving away from the extraordinary conditions that we've experienced over recent years. And that's something that we need to understand if we're going to navigate this market successfully. I'm Summer from Summer & Co Property. Don't forget to click on the like and subscribe buttons for more real estate information and property tips. And I'll see you next month for the next market update.